Commander Jake Harrison stood at the large window of his ship, the Liberty. Stars moved past like rivers of light. He had spent 20 years in space, but the view never got old. Today was special. Today humanity would meet a new alien race called the Vorathians. They had sent messages promising friendship and trade. Jake was 42 years old. His hair was turning gray at the sides. His blue eyes had seen many things in space. The military chose him for this mission because he was good at talking to people and good at making quick decisions. His crew was young and excited. They believed this would be a great day for Earth. Lieutenant Karen Mitchell sat at her station. She was 26 and fresh from training school. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. She looked up at Jake with bright eyes. "We are getting close to the meeting point, Commander. The coordinates the Vorathians gave us are just ahead." Jake nodded. "Everyone stay alert. This is first contact. We need to make a good impression. But keep your eyes open." He tried to sound calm, but something in his gut told him to be careful. He had learned to trust that feeling over the years. The Liberty dropped out of fast travel into normal space. What they saw made Jake's blood run cold. Instead of a peaceful meeting place, they were in the middle of a field full of broken ship parts. Old metal and debris floated everywhere. Before anyone could speak, the ship's alarm started screaming. Multiple ships detected, Lieutenant Danny Brooks shouted from his station. His face went pale. "They are Vorathian ships. All of them have weapons powered up and ready to fire. Turn the ship now," Jake ordered. His voice was hard and fast. "Get us out of here," but it was too late. 30 Vorathian warships appeared around them like wolves surrounding a deer. Each ship was huge and covered with weapons. The Liberty shook as energy blast hit their shields. The lights flickered. People grabbed onto their chairs to stay standing. "They tricked us," Karen said. Her voice shook with fear and anger. This was never about peace. Jake held tight to his command chair. The ship rocked back and forth under the attack. On his screen he could see how the Vorathians were moving. They were not trying to destroy the Liberty right away. They were pushing it, trapping it, keeping it from escaping. They had done this before. "Give all power to the engines," Jake commanded. "We need to break out of this trap." Chief Engineer Peter Cole's voice came through the speakers with bad news. "The faster-than-light drive is broken, Commander. They hit us with some kind of special weapon. It is blocking our systems. We cannot leave." A hologram appeared in the air above Jake's chair. It showed a Vorathian. He was tall and covered in scales like a reptile. His name was High Commander Zarvex. His eyes were cold and cruel. His mouth twisted into something that might have been a smile, but it looked wrong and scary. "Commander Harrison," Zarvex spoke in perfect English. His voice sounded like a snake hissing. "Your people were so easy to fool. You believed we wanted peace. How stupid. Your technology, your ship, even your bodies will help the coalition. We will study everything about you." "Why are you doing this?" Jake demanded. He kept his voice steady even though another blast hit the ship. "What do you gain from betraying us?" "Everything," Zarvex answered. "Humans could become a threat to us someday. Better to destroy you now before you get stronger. Your crew will give us good test subjects. Your ship will teach us about your technology. And you, Commander, will watch as we show what happens to species who try to reach the stars without permission." The hologram disappeared. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was scared, but they still trusted him. They were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. The Liberty was a research ship with only basic weapons. Fighting 30 warships was suicide, but Jake was not going to give up. "Commander, our shields are at 30%, Brooks reported. "We have holes in the hull on Deck 4 and Deck 7. If they keep shooting, we will be dead in 10 minutes. Jake's mind worked fast. Direct combat would not work, but something Zarvex said gave him an idea. The Vorathians wanted to study their technology. That meant the aliens had shared some of their own systems with the Liberty during the first communications. They thought humans were too stupid to use that information. "Peter, can you take power from life support and give it to our communication systems? I need maximum boost." "Everything we have, sir, that will give us maybe 5 minutes of air," Peter protested. "I do not see how sending a message will help us." "We are not sending a message," Jake interrupted. His blue eyes suddenly looked fierce and determined. "Karen, I need you to find the Vorathian command network codes. They gave them to us during our first talks. Danny, prepare to run Protocol Omega-7. "Sir, that protocol is only theoretical," Brooks said with fear in his voice. "We never tested it. We do not even know if it works. We are testing it right now, Lieutenant." "Do what I ordered." Karen's fingers flew over her controls. Commander, I found their network structure. Their security is very advanced, but the access codes they gave us still work. They never thought we would use them as a weapon. That is because they think we are weak, Jake said quietly. They thought we were prey animals. Time to show them what happens when you corner a predator. Start the hack. The Liberty shook again as more energy weapons tore through the shields. Warning sounds screamed through the ship. Smoke filled some corridors. People were running to fix damage and help wounded crew members. But on the bridge, Jake watched his team work with perfect focus. They were doing something that had never been done before. The Varathians had made a big mistake. They betrayed humanity, but in doing that, they showed Jake exactly how their technology worked. They showed him how their ships talked to each other. Most important, they showed him how their command system operated. Everything was controlled from one central point. The air was getting thin. The bridge was getting cold as power was pulled away from life support. Frost started forming on the metal surfaces. People's breath came out in white clouds. The oxygen levels dropped lower and lower, but Jake did not care about any of that. His entire focus was on the plan. I am inside their tactical network, Karen reported. Her voice was strained from lack of oxygen. Their firewalls are trying to block me out, but I am using their own codes against them. It is like they never imagined someone would attack them from the inside. Arrogance, Jake said. They have probably never met a species smart enough to turn their own weapons against them. They think they are the strongest. That makes them blind to danger. Another huge impact threw crew members against their stations. The Liberty's hull screamed in protest. Alarms showed that the ship's structure was failing. They had maybe 3 minutes left before the ship broke apart completely. Direct hit to engineering, Peter shouted. We lost main power. Running on backup systems only. Commander, we are out of time. Karen, tell me you are through their security, Jake demanded. Almost there. Almost. Yes. I am in their command node, Karen shouted with excitement. Commander, I have access to their entire fleet network. All 30 ships are controlled by Zarvex's flagship. Just like you predicted, Jake allowed himself a cold smile. Then let us give them a command they will never forget. Execute Omega-7. Full override. Take control of their fleet and make it ours. Karen pressed the final commands. The virus that humanity's best programmers had created spread through the Varathian network like fire through dry grass. It looked like a normal command, so their systems accepted it. But once inside, it took over everything. For 3 long heartbeats, nothing happened. The Liberty continued to shake under the assault. Then suddenly, every Varathian ship stopped firing. The silence was so sudden it felt loud. What just happened? Danny Brooks stared at his screen in shock. Commander, their weapons are offline. All of them. Every single ship stopped at the same time. Not offline, Jake corrected him. His voice was filled with satisfaction. Those weapons are ours now. Karen, transfer fleet command to my station. Let us introduce ourselves to our new guests. And just like that, Jake Harrison had turned the ambush around. The hunter had become the hunted. The Varathians had tried to destroy humanity. Instead, they had given humans their first real weapon in what was about to become a galactic war. The holographic display above Jake's command chair lit up with green lights. Each light represented one Varathian warship, and every single one of them now belonged to the Liberty. Jake could hardly believe it worked. The hack was complete. 30 enemy ships now followed his commands. Oh my God, Karen whispered. Her hands were shaking. We own them. We actually control their entire fleet. Commander, life support is critical. Peter's voice cut through their amazement. We are running out of air fast. Whatever we do next, it needs to happen right now. Jake opened a communication channel to all Varathian ships. Zarvex's scaly face appeared again on the screen, but this time the arrogance was gone. His eyes were wide with fear and disbelief. His mouth hung open in shock. What have you done? Zarvex hissed. His voice was no longer confident. This is impossible. No species has ever broken through our security. Our systems are the most advanced in the galaxy. No species had a reason to try before, Jake replied. His voice was calm despite the black spots appearing at the edges of his vision from lack of oxygen. You said humans were naive, that we trusted too easily. You were right. But you also gave us something else, High Commander. You gave us your command codes. You gave us access to your network. And most important, you gave us a reason to use them. You cannot control our fleet, Zarvex protested. The systems are too complex. The technology is alien to you. You will make mistakes and destroy everything. Watch me, Jake interrupted. He touched a control on his chair. On the tactical screen, all 30 Varathian warships turned in perfect formation. Their weapons, which moments ago were firing at the Liberty, now pointed directly at Zarvex's own flagship. The effect on Zarvex was immediate. His scales turned a lighter color, which Jake guessed meant he was terrified. His clawed hands gripped the sides of his command chair. For the first time, the mighty Varathian commander looked small and powerless. "Here is what will happen now," Jake continued. His voice took on a hard edge that his crew had never heard before. "Your engineers will immediately transport to the Liberty. They will fix our life support and our faster-than-light drive. Then you will order every Varathian ship in this sector to stay away from human space. And finally, you will explain to your coalition leaders that humanity is not your prey." "We never will be, and if I refuse?" Zarvex asked, though his voice was weak. Jake's expression turned cold. "Then I will show the entire galaxy what happens when you betray humans. I will turn your fleet against itself. Every ship you sent to kill us will instead tear your flagship apart piece by piece. When that is done, I will program them to fly back to your home world. They will broadcast to everyone exactly how easily we took control of your most advanced military ships. Your coalition will fall apart when other species see how weak you really are. Your enemies, and I am sure you have many, will attack when they sense your vulnerability. The great Varathian Empire destroyed by a single human ship. Is that the legacy you want, High Commander?" Silence filled the communication channel. On the Liberty's bridge, people breathed heavily in the thin air. Their faces were pale from oxygen deprivation, but they all stared at Jake with a mixture of awe and fear. They had never seen their commander like this. He was always calm and diplomatic. Now he looked like a warrior ready to burn down everything. Finally, Zarvex's shoulders slumped in defeat. "You have made your point, human. My engineers will repair your ship. But understand this. You have made an enemy today. The coalition will not forget this humiliation. We will never forgive what you have done." "Good," Jake replied without hesitation. "Because we will not forget your betrayal either. The next time your coalition thinks about attacking humanity, remember this moment. Remember that we turned your greatest strength into our weapon. The Liberty will be leaving soon, and we are taking your fleet with us, just to make sure you keep your promises." Moments later, Varathian engineers began appearing on the Liberty's damaged decks in flashes of light. They were using their transport technology to beam directly onto the ship. The aliens looked angry and humiliated, but they followed Zarvex's orders. They had no choice. Jake walked down to the engineering section to watch them work. Peter and his team stood nearby, observing everything the Varathians did. They were learning as much as they could about the alien technology. This knowledge would be valuable for Earth. One of the Varathian engineers was smaller than the others. She had yellow eyes and moved with quick, precise motions. Her name was Kira Sin. She glanced up at Jake as she worked on the life support systems. "You should not have been able to do what you did," she said. Her English was accented but clear. "Our security systems were designed by the greatest minds in the coalition. We spent 300 years making them perfect. Yet you broke through in minutes." "We had something you did not account for," Jake replied. "Desperation. When humans face death, we become very creative very quickly. Also, you gave us the keys to your system when you invited us to connect our computers for the peace talks. You thought we were too primitive to understand what we were seeing. A mistake we will not make again," Kirsten said bitterly. "The High Command is already changing all the security codes. By the time your ship reaches your home world, every system in the coalition will be completely different. You will never be able to do this again." Jake nodded. "I would expect nothing less. But here is what you need to understand, Kirsten. This was never just about the hack. This was about sending a message. Humanity can be pushed. We can be attacked, but we do not break. When you try to kill us, we find a way to hit back harder than you ever imagined possible." The engineer looked at him for a long moment. Then she went back to her work without saying another word. But Jake could tell she was thinking about what he said. "Good. Let her tell the other Varathians. Let them all know what happens when they underestimate humans." Back on the bridge, Karen was deep inside the Varathian fleet computer systems. She was copying every bit of information she could find. Technical specifications, weapon systems, navigation routes, everything that might help Earth defend itself in the future. "Commander, you need to see this," Karen called out when Jake returned. "I have been reading their communication logs. There is something very disturbing here. Jake leaned over her console. Show me what you found. The ambush on us was not an isolated incident. The Varathians have been doing this for years. They find new species that are just starting to explore space. They invite them to peace talks. Then they attack and destroy them. We are the first ones to survive. A cold fury filled Jake's chest. How many species have they killed? At least 7 civilizations in the past 10 years. Karen said quietly. The Varathians steal their technology. They take survivors for experiments. Then they tell everyone the species just disappeared. Other alien governments accept it because they are afraid to challenge the coalition. This changes everything, Jake said. Copy all of that data. When we get home, humanity needs to know what we are really facing. This is not just one attack. This is systematic genocide, already doing it, sir, Karen confirmed. But Commander, there is more. According to their planning documents, attacking the Liberty was just the first step. They were going to follow up with strikes on Earth's outer colonies, small targets to test how strong our military is. Then they planned a full invasion to wipe out humanity completely. Jake's jaw clenched tight. The Varathian betrayal was even worse than he thought. This was not about eliminating a rival. This was about destroying an entire species just because they might become a threat someday. How long until we reach human space? He asked. 48 hours at our current speed, Danny Brooks reported. The Varathian ships can go much faster, but our drive cannot match their speed yet. The engineers are still repairing it. Keep this formation, Jake ordered. I want those ships visible on every sensor in space. Let everyone see that humanity captured a Varathian fleet. Let them know we are not victims anymore. The communication system beeped again. Zarvix appeared on the screen once more. His face was twisted with barely controlled rage. His eyes burned with hatred. Commander Harrison, the Varathian leader, began stiffly. The Coalition High Council has been informed of your actions. They demand the immediate return of our fleet. They also demand your surrender for trial as a war criminal. Jake actually laughed. The sound had no humor in it at all. Your High Council can demand whatever they want. I am keeping your fleet until we are safely back in human territory. Think of it as insurance against any more ambushes. You are making a terrible mistake, Zarvek said. The Coalition has resources you cannot imagine. Military forces that make this fleet look like nothing. You cannot possibly win against us. Then maybe you should have thought of that before you tried to exterminate my species. Jake interrupted coldly. Here is my offer, Zarvex. You will contact every Varathian vessel in this region. You will order them to stay away from human space completely. Any coalition ship that comes within 10 light years of our territory will be considered hostile. We will destroy it without warning. Impossible, Zarvex shouted. You have no authority to make such demands. I have 30 of your warships under my control, Jake replied. That gives me all the authority I need. You tried to commit genocide against humanity. We are simply making sure it does not happen again. Make the call, High Commander. Or I start Demon. 6 hours after taking control of the Varathian fleet, the Liberty moved through space like a king with an army of guards. 30 alien warships followed behind it in perfect formation. Any species watching their sensors would see something that should have been impossible. A small human research ship commanding the pride of the Varathian coalition. Jake stood in the engineering section watching Peter and his team work alongside the Varathian engineers. The aliens worked in angry silence. Their scaled hands moved with practiced skill as they repaired the Liberty's damaged systems. But they would not look at the humans. Their shame and rage was obvious. It is actually amazing, Peter said quietly to Jake. Their technology is maybe 50 years ahead of ours. But the basic science is the same. Given enough time, we could copy most of this. We could build ships just as good as theirs. That is exactly what they were afraid of, Jake replied. Zarvex was not lying when he said we could become a threat. Humanity advances fast. Too fast for the old powers to feel comfortable. Better to kill us now than face us as equals later. That was their thinking. Kirasin, the small female engineer, looked up from her work. Her yellow eyes met Jake's gaze. You should not have been able to do what you did, she said again. Our security protocols were designed by the Coalition's greatest minds. 300 cycles of improvement and refinement. Yet you breached them in minutes. We had an advantage you did not account for, Jake told her. Desperation. When faced with extinction, humans become very creative very quickly. Plus, you gave us access to your network during the initial diplomatic exchange. You thought we were too primitive to understand what we were seeing. That was your mistake. A mistake we will not repeat, Kirisin said with bitterness in her voice. The High Command is already purging all systems that humans touched. By the time you reach your home world, every security protocol in the Coalition will have been completely rewritten. New codes, new systems, new everything. Jake nodded slowly. I would expect nothing less. But here is what you need to understand, Kirisin. This was never just about breaking your security. This was about sending a message. Humanity can be pushed. We can be attacked. We can be ambushed. But we do not break. We do not surrender. Attack us, and we will find a way to hit back harder than you can imagine. The engineer studied him for a long moment with her alien eyes. Then she returned to her work without another word. But Jake could see her thinking about what he said. Good. Let the Varathians learn that humans were not easy prey. Back on the bridge, Karen was still deep in the captured fleet's computer systems. She was learning everything she could while they still had access. Danny Brooks had taken over navigation. He plotted a course that would take them back to Earth while keeping all the captured ships in perfect military formation. The journey home would take 2 days. 2 days of constant vigilance. 2 days of wondering if the Varathians would send more ships to attack. 2 days of hoping Earth's military would understand what Jake had done and why he did it. Commander, Karen called out. You really need to see this. I found something in their files. Something big. Jake walked over to her station. What did you find? The ambush was not just about us, Karen explained. Her face was pale as she read the data. The Varathians have been systematically targeting new species across this entire sector of space. They find civilizations that are just reaching the stars. They invite them to peaceful meetings. Then they destroy them. We are the first ones to survive their first contact protocols. All the others were harvested. Jake felt cold fury settle into his chest. How many species did they kill? At least 7 civilizations in the past decade. All of them were invited to peace talks. All of them were ambushed and destroyed. The Varathians stripped their technology. They enslaved survivors for genetic experiments. Then they claimed the species simply vanished. Other alien powers accepted because challenging the Coalition is not worth the risk. Nobody wants to fight them. This changes everything, Jake said quietly. Copy all of that information. Every file. Every record. When we get home, humanity needs to know what we are really facing out here. This is not just one attack. This is organized genocide. Already copying it, sir, Karen confirmed. But, Commander, there is even more. According to their strategic planning documents, the attack on the Liberty was meant to be the first phase of a larger operation. They were planning to follow up with strikes on Earth's outer colonies. Soft targets to test our military response before launching a full-scale invasion of the homeworld. Jake's jaw clenched tight. The scope of the Varathian betrayal was even worse than he had imagined. This was not about eliminating a potential rival. This was genocide in the planning stage. They had marked humanity for extinction before humans even knew the Varathians existed. How long until we reach the border of human space? Jake asked. 48 hours at current speed, Danny Brooks reported. The Varathian ships are capable of much faster travel, but our faster-than-light drive cannot match their velocity yet. The repairs are holding, but we are still limited by our own technology. Maintain current formation, Jake ordered. I want those ships visible on every sensor array between here and Earth. Let everyone see that humanity claimed a Varathian fleet as spoils of war. Let them know we are not victims anymore. A communication request appeared on the main display. Zarvex again. His reptilian features were twisted in barely suppressed rage. His scales were dark with anger. His clawed hands gripped his command chair so tight that Jake could see the metal bending. Commander Harrison, the Varathian leader, began. His voice shook with fury. The Coalition High Council has been informed of your actions. They demand the immediate return of our fleet. They also demand your surrender for trial. You will be punished for this crime against the Coalition. Jake laughed. The sound was cold and empty of humor. Your High Council can demand whatever they want. I am keeping your fleet until we are safely back in human territory. Consider it insurance against any further ambushes. You tried to kill us once. I am making sure you cannot try again. You are making a grave mistake, Zarvex hissed. The Coalition has resources beyond your comprehension. Military assets that make this fleet look insignificant. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. You cannot possibly stand against us. Then maybe you should have thought of that before you tried to exterminate us, Jake interrupted coldly. Here is my counteroffer, Zarvex. You are going to contact every Varathian vessel in this sector. You will order them to avoid human space entirely. Any coalition ship that comes within 10 light years of our territory will be considered hostile. We will deal with it accordingly. Impossible, Zarvex shouted. You have no authority to make such demands. You are nothing but a minor species. You have no power here. I have 30 of your warships under my direct control, Jake replied. His voice was like ice. That gives me all the authority I need. You attempted genocide against humanity, High Commander. We are simply ensuring it does not happen again. Make the call. Or I start demonstrating exactly what these ships can do under human command. Would you like to see your own fleet destroy your flagship? I can arrange that right now. The transmission cut off abruptly. Jake knew he was pushing dangerous boundaries. He might be starting a war that humanity was not ready to fight. But the alternative was accepting that aliens could attack Earth with impunity. That was not going to happen. Not while Jake Harrison was alive, Commander, Karen said quietly. We are getting encrypted transmissions from the captured fleet. The Varathian crews are trying to communicate with each other. They are planning something. Trying to regain control of their ships. Shut them down, Jake ordered immediately. Full communications blackout on all coalition vessels. Cut every connection. If they try anything, if they make any attempt to override our commands, transfer complete control to automated systems. I want those ships responsive only to Liberty command codes. Nothing else gets through. Yes, sir. Implementing blackout now. Jake looked out at the stars. The view was beautiful as always. But now he knew the truth behind that beauty. The galaxy was not a place of peaceful exploration and friendly cooperation. It was a battlefield. And species like the Varathians were predators who saw newcomers as prey to be harvested. Somewhere out there, Earth's military command was probably having emergency meetings. They were receiving reports of a single exploration vessel returning with an entire hostile fleet in tow. Politicians were arguing. Generals were making plans. Scientists were preparing to study the captured technology. But Jake knew the real challenge was yet to come. Getting home was just the first step. The question was what humanity would do with 30 advanced alien warships and the knowledge that they were surrounded by enemies. Enemies who saw them as nothing more than resources to be taken. The hours passed slowly. The Liberty and its captured escort moved steadily toward human space. The crew worked in shifts, always watching for any sign of attack. But no Varathian ships appeared. Either Zarvex had actually ordered them to stay away, or they were gathering forces for a massive counterattack. Danny Brooks looked up from his console. Commander, we are approaching the boundary marker. I am reading multiple human ships forming U. The emergency council meeting on Earth had been going for 6 hours. Admiral Helen Carter stood before a room full of politicians and military leaders. All of them were trying to process what Commander Jake Harrison had done. The holographic display in the center showed the Liberty approaching with 30 Varathian warships following behind it. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Senator Gregory Walsh said. His face was red with anger. One of our commanders has hijacked an entire alien fleet. He is holding them hostage, and he is making demands on behalf of humanity to a galactic superpower. Is that accurate? That is an oversimplification, Senator, Admiral Carter replied calmly. Commander Harrison acted to defend his ship and crew from an unprovoked ambush. The fact that he managed to turn enemy technology against them is a remarkable achievement. Not a crime. It is an act of war, Walsh shouted. He slammed his hand on the table. The Varathian coalition could crush us. They have thousands of ships. Entire armadas. Harrison has doomed us all with his recklessness. He should be arrested, not praised. General Frank Morrison cleared his throat. He was an old soldier with gray hair and scars from past battles. With respect, Senator, the Varathians already declared war when they tried to exterminate the Liberty's crew. Harrison's actions may have actually saved us. If he had been destroyed as they planned, we would never have known about the coalition's hostile intentions. Their invasion fleet would have arrived at our doorstep without warning. The holographic display showed more footage of the captured fleet. The images had been broadcast by Harrison himself. Every nation and colony on Earth could see what humanity had taken from the Varathians. It was a message to everyone. Humans were not prey. Admiral, President Victoria Lane spoke. Her voice cut through all the arguments. What is your professional assessment of Commander Harrison's actions? Give me your honest opinion. Carter chose her words carefully. Madam President, Jake Harrison is one of the finest officers I have ever served with. His tactical thinking is exceptional. His moral compass is sound. His loyalty to humanity is beyond question. What he did was improvise under impossible circumstances. He somehow turned a death trap into a strategic victory. That said, we now possess 30 advanced alien warships that we barely understand how to operate. We have proof that the Varathian coalition has been exterminating emerging species. We have evidence of their plans to attack Earth. And we have effectively declared ourselves an enemy of one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The situation is unprecedented and extremely dangerous. Then what do you recommend? The president asked. We back Harrison completely, Carter said firmly. We study those ships. We reverse engineer their technology. We prepare for the possibility that the Varathians will retaliate. But most importantly, we send a message to every alien civilization in the galaxy. Humanity will not be prey. Attack us and we will respond with everything we have. We will never surrender. We will never accept extinction quietly. Senator Walsh sputtered in protest. That is insane. We cannot possibly fight the coalition. They will destroy us. We do not have a choice, General Morrison interrupted. The moment the Varathians ambushed the Liberty, they made their intentions clear. They see us as resources to be harvested, animals to be hunted. We can either roll over and die or we can fight back. Harrison chose to fight. I, for one, applaud him for it. He saved his crew and gave us the tools to defend ourselves. President Lane studied the holographic display in silence. The captured ships moved in perfect formation, a symbol of human determination and ingenuity. Finally, she nodded. Admiral Carter, you have operational authority to handle the Liberty's return and the integration of the captured fleet. Senator Walsh, start working with the other colonies to coordinate our defensive preparations. General Morrison, I want a full assessment of what these Varathian ships can do and how we can use them to protect Earth. And what about Commander Harrison? Walsh asked bitterly. What happens to him? He will be welcomed home as a hero, the president said firmly, because that is exactly what he is. He faced impossible odds and won. He gave humanity hope when we needed it most. History will remember Jake Harrison as the man who proved humans could stand against any enemy. Aboard the Liberty, Jake was unaware of the political storm his actions had created. He was focused entirely on getting his crew home safely, while maintaining control of the captured fleet. Every hour brought them closer to Earth. Every hour without attack was a small victory. Commander, we are approaching the border marker, Danny Brooks announced. Human military vessels are forming up to meet us. I am reading the entire Third Fleet. Every ship we have in this sector is out there. Jake felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They had made it. Open a channel to the fleet commander, he ordered. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the display. Jake smiled when he saw her. Hello, Helen, Jake, she replied. Her expression mixed pride with exasperation. You certainly know how to make an entrance. 30 Varathian warships, really? You could not have just stolen one? They came as a package deal, Jake replied with a tired grin. Admiral, I need to brief you on everything we discovered. The Varathians are not just hostile. They are actively genocidal. They have been wiping out emerging species for years. We were next on their list. Carter's expression turned hard. Karen already transmitted the data you collected. Command has been analyzing it for the past day. Jake, you have uncovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about the galaxy. The Varathians have been lying to everyone. They present themselves as peaceful traders while secretly murdering potential rivals. So what happens now, Jake asked. Now you bring those ships home. We are setting up a secure facility to study them. You, Commander, are going to help us figure out how to integrate Varathian technology into our own fleet. Because if we are going to survive what is coming, we need every advantage we can get. What about the Varathians themselves, Jake asked. Zarvex has been making threats. The coalition is not going to just let this go. They will come for revenge, let them come, Carter said grimly. We are done being the galaxy's victims, Jake. You proved that a single human ship can take down an entire fleet when pushed to the wall. Imagine what we can do when we are prepared and ready for a fight. The Varathians picked the wrong species to mess with. As the Liberty crossed into human space with its captured fleet in tow, Jake looked around at his exhausted but triumphant crew. They had been through hell. They faced impossible odds, and somehow they emerged victorious. Karen was still at her station, copying the last bits of data from the Varathian systems. Danny was guiding the ship with steady hands. Peter was in engineering, making sure all repairs held, but Jake knew this was just the beginning. The Varathian coalition would retaliate. They could not allow this humiliation to stand. Other alien powers would take notice of humanity's sudden military capability. Some might see opportunity, others might see threat. And somewhere out there, species that had suffered under Varathian aggression might find hope in humanity's defiance. The betrayal had been meant to end humanity's reach for the stars. The Varathians wanted to harvest human resources and eliminate a potential rival before it became strong. Instead, they had forged humanity into something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that refused to accept their place in the cosmic order, a species willing to fight against impossible odds, a species that could turn enemy weapons into tools of liberation. Jake Harrison had crossed a line that day in the debris field. He took an action that would shape human history for generations. He had proven that humanity could be pushed. They could be betrayed. They could be ambushed by superior forces and advanced technology. But they could not be broken. They would not go quietly into extinction. They would fight back with every ounce of creativity and determination they possessed. The human fleet moved forward to escort the Liberty home. 30 warships from Earth joined the 30 captured Varathian vessels, 60 ships total, moving in formation toward humanity's homeworld. It was the largest military force Earth had ever assembled, and at the center of it all was a single damaged research vessel, commanded by a man who had refused to surrender. Admiral Carter's voice came through the speakers again. "Jake, the President wants to speak with you personally when you land. She wants to thank you. The whole world wants to thank you. You saved us all." Jake shook his head. "I just did what anyone would do. I protected my crew. I refused to accept defeat. That is all. That is everything," Carter replied. "You showed the galaxy what humans are capable of. You turned our greatest vulnerability into our greatest strength. The Varathians thought they could eliminate us easily. You proved them wrong. Now the whole galaxy knows. Humanity is here to stay." The Liberty continued its journey home. Behind it, 30 captured warships followed obediently. Around it, human vessels provided escort and protection, and ahead Earth waited. Home, safety, but also the beginning of a new era. An era where humanity was no longer just exploring the stars. They were claiming their place among them, fighting for their right to exist, proving that they belonged in the galaxy not as prey but as equals. Jake stood at his command post and watched the blue marble of Earth grow larger on the view screen. He had left as an explorer seeking peace. 3 months after the Liberty's return, the captured Varathian fleet hung in orbit around Luna, Earth's moon. The ships had been stripped down, analyzed, and rebuilt with a mix of alien and human technology. They were now unlike anything else in the galaxy. Faster than pure Varathian ships, more adaptable than pure human vessels. They were hybrid warships and they were deadly. Jake stood in the command center of what had once been Zarvex's flagship. The Varathians had called it the Sovereign's Will, a name full of arrogance and pride. Humanity renamed it the Retribution. Now it served as the command ship for Earth's newly formed 1st Expeditionary Fleet. "All systems are green, Commander," Lieutenant Karen Mitchell reported from her station. She had been promoted and assigned as Jake's permanent tactical officer. "The integration of our systems with Varathian technology is holding steady. We are reading 98% efficiency across all captured vessels." "Good," Jake replied. He studied the holographic display that showed not just the 30 original ships, but another dozen human vessels upgraded with captured technology. "Any word from our scouts?" "Multiple Varathian fleets are massing along the border," Danny Brooks reported. His voice was grim. "Intelligence estimates they are preparing for a major offensive. They want their ships back, and they want revenge for what we did to them. Let them come." Admiral Carter's voice came through the communication system. She was aboard the human flagship Independence, coordinating Earth's defense. "We have been preparing for this since the moment you brought those ships home, Jake. We are ready." Jake nodded, but his expression remained serious. "Admiral, we should not just defend. The intelligence we gathered shows the Varathians have prison colonies, places where they keep survivors from the species they conquered. There are beings out there who have been enslaved for years. Their civilizations were destroyed. We need to free them." "You want to take the offensive?" Carter asked. There was approval in her voice. That is a bold move, Commander. It is the right move, Jake replied firmly. The Varathians think we are just defending our territory. They expect us to wait for their attack. But if we strike first, if we hit their prison facilities and liberate their captives, we accomplish two things. We weaken their infrastructure, and we create allies from species that have every reason to hate the coalition. Species that will fight alongside us. There was a pause. Then Carter spoke again. The President has authorized offensive operations. You have command of the 1st Expeditionary Fleet, Jake. Show the galaxy what humanity can do when we fight back. Show them what happens when you betray those who only wanted peace. Jake felt the weight of command settle onto his shoulders. He was no longer just the captain of an exploration vessel. He was now leading humanity's first true war fleet into combat against a galactic superpower. The responsibility was enormous, but he was ready. All ships prepare for jump, he ordered. Target coordinates are the Varathian prison complex in the Krell system. Time to start balancing the scales. Time to show them that humanity does not forget. And we do not forgive those who try to exterminate us. The fleet erupted in a cascade of light as 42 vessels jumped to faster-than-light speeds. Human ships and captured Varathian warships moving together as one force. They emerged at the edge of the Krell system 12 hours later. The prison complex was defended by only a handful of Varathian patrol ships. They were not expecting us here, Karen observed. Their defenses are minimal, maybe 6 ships total. That is because they assumed we would be too busy defending Earth to launch a counterattack, Jake said. Biggest mistake they could make. They think humans only react. They do not understand that we can plan. We can strike first. Danny, take us in. Weapons free on all hostile targets. The battle was brief and decisive. The Varathian defenders were already demoralized by news of their lost fleet. When they saw their own ships bearing human command codes attacking them, they crumbled quickly. Within an hour, the prison complex was under human control. Not a single human casualty. Jake led the boarding party personally. He walked through corridors that held thousands of beings from dozens of species. All of them had been marked for slavery or experimentation by the Varathian coalition. The conditions were horrific. Cramped cells, minimal food, constant fear. This is Commander Jake Harrison of Earth. He broadcast in multiple languages using captured translation software. Your imprisonment is over. The Varathian coalition no longer controls this facility. We are humanity, and we are here to offer you freedom. No strings attached, no debts to repay, just freedom. The response was overwhelming. Beings of all shapes and sizes emerged from their cells. Many were crying. Others could not believe their nightmare was finally ending. Among them, Jake found representatives of the 7 civilizations the Varathians had tried to exterminate. Survivors who had lost everything. One of them approached Jake with something like reverence in its alien eyes. It was tall and insectoid with multiple arms and compound eyes. Its name was Trelvex. You are the humans who captured the Varathian fleet, Trelvex said through a translator device. The story has spread throughout the prison network. We thought it was just a legend, a desperate hope to keep us going through the darkness. It is real, Jake confirmed. And so is this. Humanity is at war with the Varathian coalition. We are going to keep hitting them, keep freeing their prisoners, keep disrupting their operations, until they either negotiate a real peace or until we have dismantled their empire completely. We could use allies in this fight, species who know the Varathians' tactics and weaknesses. Trelvex's mandibles clicked, and what Jake had learned was the equivalent of a fierce grin. The Varathians thought they had crushed us. They thought we were too weak and too broken to ever fight back. But you have given us something we lost. Hope. My people, all the peoples imprisoned here, will stand with humanity. Together we will show the coalition what happens when they underestimate the survival instinct of desperate beings. Over the following weeks, Jake's fleet struck at 6 more Varathian facilities. Each time they freed thousands of prisoners. Each time they captured more ships and technology. The raids were surgical and devastating, designed to maximize damage to Varathian operations while minimizing casualties. The liberated species began forming their own military units, eager to strike back at their former captors. But Jake knew it could not last forever. Eventually, the Varathian coalition would gather enough forces to mount a serious counterattack. When that happened, humanity would face its greatest test. The question was whether they could stand against the full might of an empire that had dominated this region of space for centuries. The confrontation came at the edge of human space. In a system humanity had named Threshold, the Varathian coalition assembled a massive fleet. 300 warships, enough firepower to glass entire planets, enough soldiers to conquer star systems. They came for revenge. They came to reclaim their honor. They came to destroy the upstart humans who dared to challenge them. Against them stood Jake's expeditionary fleet, now expanded to 80 vessels through captured ships and newly constructed human warships. They were outnumbered nearly 4-1, facing an enemy with centuries more experience in warfare. But they had something the Varathians did not: desperation, innovation, and the determination to never surrender. All ships, this is Commander Harrison, Jake broadcast to his entire fleet. 3 months ago, the Varathians ambushed the Liberty with the intention of exterminating humanity. They thought we would be easy prey. They were wrong. We turned their fleet against them. We freed their prisoners. We showed the galaxy that humans do not surrender when faced with superior force. We adapt, we overcome, and we win. Today they come with overwhelming numbers. They think that will make a difference. Let us prove them wrong again. For Earth, for humanity, for every species the Varathians tried to destroy. Show them what happens when you betray those who wanted only peace. Show them the price of genocide. The battle that followed would be studied for generations. Jake used every trick he learned from studying Varathian tactics, combined with human unpredictability and the desperate courage of freed aliens fighting alongside them. The key moment came when Karen executed a maneuver that should have been impossible. She used the captured Varathian ships to broadcast false command codes, creating chaos in the enemy formation. For 10 critical minutes, half the Varathian fleet thought they were receiving orders from their own command. They broke formation, exposed their flanks, created gaps in their defensive lines. Human and allied ships poured fire into those gaps. The Varathian numerical advantage became a liability. Their tightly packed formations became death traps. The coalition fleet was built for overwhelming force. They expected enemies to crumble before their might. They had never faced an opponent who could outthink them. An opponent who turned their own systems against them. An opponent who refused to accept defeat no matter the odds. When the smoke cleared, the Varathian fleet was in full retreat, leaving behind 70 destroyed vessels and countless damaged ones. Jake's forces had lost only 9 ships, and even those crews had mostly survived thanks to improved evacuation procedures. It was a decisive victory, a message to the entire galaxy. The victory sent shockwaves through known space. The mighty Vo,